have some special trucker caps that we made this morning with a little roll-out tractor stencil.
All right, well, I'd love to, the first question I'd love to ask you guys is, I mean, the concept rule is certainly a theme or a thing that's very open to interpretation. And I love that this program that we had 4 very distinct films, and certainly your 3 are very different, but covering that same sort of theme. So I'd love each of you to sort of say, you know, what drew you to the subject matter of your film, and I guess what drove, I guess, inspired you and drove you to make the kind of film you did. So Rebecca, if you want to start.
I guess I started.
Hello. Yeah, it's all right. Can everyone hear us? Okay.
Let's pretend you don't.
Oh, it should be on.
Hello?
It's on.
It's on. It's just not getting a. Oh.
You are? Okay.
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 It's going into the camera.
Oh, okay.
I shot the film Holland, Michigan last year, and I guess I was interested in going because there's a Tulip Time Festival going on, and there was a speaker, Eric Prentice, I guess is a notable resident of Holland, Michigan, but he's kind of more notable for being the CEO of Blackwater. So I wanted to go down and do coverage of the protest that was going on in Holland, and just contrast that with the tulips being really idyllic and beautiful. So I went down, and the protest ended up being really small, and we couldn't really get a lot of interviews. So we went to a tulip farm to get some more images of tulips, and I found a wood carver there named Elmer Valdir, and his brother owned the tulip farm. And I just really loved his story, and I really loved how he was just really happy and comfortable doing, just doing simple work. And I guess I was kind of just drawn to his life and just figuring out his story.
Did you buy a pair of wooden shoes while you were there?
I didn't get a pair of wooden shoes while I was there, but got a lot of facts.
Okay. And Kate, yeah.
Well, what first drew me to my subject matter was my MFA thesis when I was a graduate student at Southern Illinois University was on garbage, and it was a children's film about garbage and waste and recycling, and it was all animated. And I had a great time doing it, but after it was done, I said, why not make a film that just was very quietly celebratory of how beautiful our natural world is, and is not, in your face with, you have to recycle and you have to take better care of the world, but something that is less didactic and more subtle and suggestive just through the image. And currently I'm teaching at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and that's the program is focuses on experimental films. And so luckily, I was with a group of great influential filmmakers who I was looking at their work, and they were giving me great suggestions and advice when I was making this film. And so just through the images alone and through the sounds, I just wanted to, just immerse the audience in, just quite simply the beauty of nature. And how, hopefully that would inspire people with the idea that we need to preserve and protect and conserve.
Yeah, no, I felt it was certainly impactful. Between the color just flashing at you reminded me a lot of sort of kaleidoscopes of the kid. It had sort of a childlike nature to it, but also a very sort of immediate emotional response, which is so key when exploring nature and being part of nature. So definitely very, very effective. And Ian.
Would you mind explaining your technical process just a little bit while we're on you for a second?
Well, first of all, you have to have a mother with a very fancy camera that she can let you borrow.
And we have audio now that
yeah. So my mom was given this really awesome. She's an amateur photographer, and she's got this wonderful camera. And she said, "Why don't you borrow it?" And I said, "Okay." And so. One of the first things I started doing was photographing flowers, and I wanted to make a piece about flowers, but just the flowers themselves were just, very basic, very straightforward, and I said, this is really nice, but there's nothing really that sticks out about it. So in the editing program, I just took one picture of a flower and superimposed it on another one. I said, well, that's a really cool effect, but what if it was animated? What if it was moving? So I set out and I went to the Schloss Audubon Center of Wisconsin, which is just a huge nature preserve. It's gorgeous. And I took about 1,000 photographs of the black-eyed Susans, and then there's another place in Wisconsin, the Brunner Botanical Gardens, and that's all cultivated. So you have kind of a wilder space and a cultivated space. And the flowers from the Brunner Botanical Garden, like cultivated roses and daisies and other types of plants, I superimpose those over the more wild flowers and just set things going. So all in all, there's about 3,500 separate images of flowers in the film. And so when I reached 4 minutes, I was like, yes, 4 minutes. Yeah, so it became tedious sometimes, especially, midday when you've got 300 pictures and you need at least 100 more. So, yeah.
So Ian, I know you've done several films dealing with the environment and farming, and this is just a wonderful new addition to the many works that you've had. Ian was involved in King Corn, which is probably the most notable work.
Now you guys
As well as
doing,
right.
it's coming out
City Dark.
City Dark.
Which is a interesting topic as well. But let's stick to truck farm right now. So what I mean, I'm assuming you love rural, you love farming. Is this just sort of like I need to bring sort of the rural into my daily city life, or?
I suppose that's about right. I mean, I first of all, I want to thank Alan for hosting this festival, and all of you guys for helping to put it together. And also, it's an honor to share this really cool screen and this awesome theater with you guys. It's really nice to see your films. And actually, Alan's a good way to frame this discussion, because I think on some level, at least when he was first telling me about this film festival, and I can't remember whether you started it before we knew each other or not, but Alan was conveying the spirit of trying to bring something that he was kind of missing to New York City. And I think that's certainly something, obviously any city in a sense is just a city of immigrants who are coming from all over the world, and carrying all these different experiences and memories, and obviously we're in theory moving to a city to find some new opportunities and take advantage of the density of people and all the things that are obviously in a city, but there's certain things that are left behind, and sometimes it's hard to put your finger on exactly what you miss about what you left behind, whether it's the fresh air or the quiet or the greenery or whatever it might be. And we all carry these different experiences. I guess Truck Farm is a tiny little example of that in terms of my own life, although I actually didn't grow up farming. So in many ways, I think I was finding myself in Brooklyn a few years ago wanting to have a garden. And I think that was a reflection of something that a lot of people in our generation are feeling, which is a disconnect from something that they were never even connected with in the first place, because our generation has grown up, by and large, without a connection to agriculture and without a connection to rural life, certainly in the United States. We're just a majority urban population. So there's like this desire to connect to something you don't even know what shape it takes. So, I wanted a garden. I didn't have any space. I put it in the back of my pickup truck. I mean, that's kind of the simple story. But I think the fact that we were able to find all these other people around the city planting food in unusual spaces, I think is a reflection of and we're certainly not the first generation to feel disconnected from rural life, or from the environment, or from agriculture, or whatever term you put on it. But it was really interesting to see all the different forms that took as people were trying to kind of connect to something that either they'd knowingly left behind or had never ever touched. So anyway, that's kind of a rambling answer. But
No, it's very well. It definitely answers the question.
I'll also throw in that, like, around the time I met Ian before, like, kind of like a little while before King Corn was coming out, it's like we had been doing the festival for a few years, and it's been a real positive experience since that time. The thematics of our festival shifted from predominantly negative overtones in the agricultural world to this positive hope out there, and so it's really really become big. And I think that movies like Ian's and like Greenhorns that we're showing tomorrow night are wonderful examples of this, and just calling attention, doing something positive, and also calling attention to sort of some of the bigger agricultural issues out there. And it's still, I think there's some things that some disconnect and things that need to be addressed, but it's been a really positive shift over the past 3 or 4 years in media coming out of these topics. And Ian's been one of the leaders in doing this, a real prolific leader.
Yeah, no, I actually, it was a pleasure for me to see. I mean, I actually grew up in New York, and so I actually remember as a child a vacant junk-built lot next to the building I lived in, and which eventually got converted to a community garden. Personally, it was a complete surprise, because the whole that idea, that notion of community garden, actually using unused, wasted space for something positive, was just a phenomenon. And then it became very, very popular. And then unfortunately, land became extremely valuable as real estate in New York. And now that community garden has a building built on it next to the building where I grew up. So yeah, I guess the next shift would have to go to rooftops and trucks.
Yeah, I mean,
there are still some, but
and in some, it reminds me of I think what's happening in Detroit to some extent now is people are actually trying to use agriculture as a way of revitalizing cities, as a way of attracting condominiums and apartments. They're saying if there's a farm nearby, if there's green space, where the most expensive apartments or houses in New York City, they tend to be along Central Park, or with a view of a park, access to green space. I mean, that's just inarguably an amenity, and I think people are starting to see urban agriculture almost weirdly, right? I mean, because for the 20th century, everybody's trying to get away from farms, and now people are using it as a sales pitch. It's kind of amazing. So anyway, just
no, it's a good solid point. I'm curious, are any of you three? I know Ian's working on the City Dark, which I think you're in post production now.
Or actually, it's actually out.
It's done. Okay.
Yeah, it's finally done.
Great. Are you all working on something? And why don't you start talking about City Dark and about it, and I'd love to hear about what other projects you guys are working on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know some of us are headed off to grad school soon. Yeah, I'll just say really briefly. The City Dark was a longer. It's a feature-length documentary we've been working on, kind of concurrently with Truck Farm. Truck Farm is kind of its whimsical brother film. Both films grapple with the experience of living in a big city and trying to put a finger on what's missing in city life. Truck Farm, obviously from an agricultural perspective. The City Dark is about the loss of the stars, and about light pollution, and how most of us now grow up and live without being able to see the universe. And the film is an attempt to try and understand what that means and what we can make of that. Does that matter? When most of us don't think twice about the fact that we can't see the stars anymore. And it's simultaneously, alongside of that kind of difficult philosophical, cultural question, is an investigation of how light pollution and the spread of artificial light is affecting human health and ecological health, trying to introduce this idea that excessive light actually might be classified as a pollutant, as something that affects the environment, and therefore reconceiving of the darkness and of the night as part of the natural world that needs protecting, as much as rivers and oceans and forests and so forth. So, yeah, we're still showing in some festivals, and we're gearing up for a kind of small independent theatrical campaign this fall, and community screenings this fall.
Great,
So.
I can't, based on that, I can't wait to see it myself.
Yeah.
It sounds really intriguing. Kate?
Yeah, I just want to say that I can't wait to see that film either. Because, it does. It's something that's always, even in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which sounds like it's in the sticks, you can't see the stars because of light pollution. But I'm working on 3 projects right now. I'm working on another film about flowers with my mom's camera. And only it's with a macro lens, so I'm getting as close as possible to like the plants and like the insects, like the bees and the bugs that live on them. And I'm just trying to capture the realm of the very small within your own backyard, and just kind of like exploring the microcosmos. And I'm working on an experimental documentary about my trip in the Channel Islands off of the coast of California. And it's been called the Galapagos Islands of the United States because they have a lot of species that are endemic to the islands, such as foxes and birds and insects. And so I was out there camping over the summer, and I took a lot of footage. I'm trying to assemble that into a piece, kind of similar to Of a Feather, which you saw. It's Rob's film. And I'm also working on a film about an eccentric friend of mine who's a self-taught painter and musician, and he's a self-published writer. So 2 environmental films, 1 fellow artist portrait.
I'm working on a film right now called Midwest Expansions, and it's about, I live in Chicago, and so it's about these road trips that I was taking from Chicago to kind of the outlying areas. I'm originally from Texas, so I guess the film was kind of an attempt to have this disembodied road trip to try to understand the culture of the Midwest and how it's changing. And like Ian was saying, I'm going to grad school in California, so I'm going to try to wrap up there and finish 16 and Super 8.
Sure. I'm also curious, do you, and I know this from experience because it always happens all the time, but was there anything that you wish you had done differently when making your films? Or was there anything, I know especially in the case of Ian or Rebecca, that you left on the cutting room floor that just didn't come out the way you wanted to, like microphone issues or just a moment that you wish you had the camera on a subject or captured something that just didn't happen?
I think when I went to Holland originally, and I did a lot of interviews with protesters, there was one protester in particular that read me a personal letter that was really sweet, kind of just talking about his feelings about having Blackwater in his town, or just having an association with it. And he ended up crying, and I think it was a really beautiful letter. It was really nice that I had that moment, but there is really no way for me to incorporate it into this film. So I think that would be it.
Yeah.
For me, I think I'm a very bad planner. Like most of the time when you're making a film, you have to be very, you have to have you usually have a script. You have a set plan that you're going to go tackle. But for me personally, as an experimental filmmaker, sometimes I just go out and shoot. And Anima Mundi actually came. The idea developed after I took thousands of photographs of other things. And I knew I wanted to celebrate the beauty of the natural world somehow. I knew I wanted to do it through flowers, but I had probably took thousands of pictures of flowers, at long distance, close distance, from various places around Wisconsin that just never made it off of my computer. So, yeah, but the project just actually grew over a period of like 3 months until the idea, I was finally satisfied with the idea. So.
Wow. It's a lot of flowers. It's like a flower every hour.
Yeah, no, it's like searching for an idea sometimes. It's like I just can't sit down in front of a computer, a piece of paper, and just say, this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do. Sometimes I just have to go out and find it. And in Mundi, I started filming along, and my friends and colleagues were like, hey, we have something here. I'm like, why didn't it come like 3 months ago? After I wasted a lot of time. But it's not really a waste of time. It's just more of a process of exploration.
Ian, do you have any particular interviews or things that you wish you had saved or didn't come out the way you wanted to, or had to cut out?
No, we did it.
No?
We did
You
it on
didn't?
purpose. No, yeah, I mean, I don't know. The film, we never kind of really even intended to make a film. It just kind of, because what are you going to make a film about? It's like a garden in the back of a truck, and what happens? The truck falls in love with another truck, and so we just kind of drove around, and unfortunately, some actually nefarious things did happen that gave us something barely resembling a narrative arc for the film.
Did any other plants get stolen?
No, we had one theft this summer. A beautiful celery plant got stolen, which was a shame. Although I can't blame whoever took it. It's a great-looking celery plant. I hope they're enjoying the celery. I mean, that's the thing. It's nice when people steal vegetables, because at least they're stealing vegetables. They get vegetables, so
That's true.
we're distributing vegetables. Just wish they'd asked, or left some for the rest of us. But yeah, I mean, I think I echo the spirit of these guys. It was very much some of it was catch as catch can. We didn't really know what was going to happen as we went out and visited other farmers and let the truck farm run its course. And I think that's both the spirit of farming, because you never really know what's going to happen in the season, and also of independent filmmaking. So I think the film is true to that spirit in a sense. I wish I'd been able to, since making the film, a lot of people around the city have contacted me saying, oh, what about, this cool farm up in Harlem that you didn't visit, or what about the Queens, or, it's like, well, I don't know, just kind of wandering around. We weren't terribly methodical about it, admittedly. We just kind of stumbled upon farms on the weekend in spare time and visited where we could. So I think certainly if we'd set out with the idea of making a kind of big feature film capturing all of urban agriculture, it might have turned into something different, but maybe it would have lost some of the kind of stupid whimsicality that ended up in the film. Quote me on that.
Yes.
I'm surprised nobody tried to steal the camera or the solar panel on top of your truck.
Yeah, I don't know whether the camera seemed like a security camera, so, even though clearly it couldn't have been connected to anything anywhere else anybody was monitoring, but I wonder sometimes whether the presence of the camera kind of kept people at bay sometimes. Actually, most people didn't even notice that the camera was there, or that the solar panel was there when I would talk to them later. I said, oh, really? Camera in there? So, yeah, but fortunately it did help us catch the thief. The lavender plant was returned about a week later, actually. Wow. And because somebody in the neighborhood recognized somebody in the photograph and confronted them and said, did you? He said, I did. Yeah.
It wasn't someone wandering.
It was somebody
smelling excessively of lavender.
Yeah, exactly. I had some bloodhounds. No, somebody later confessed to just loving plants, and so had taken the lavender plant home, repotted it, and kept taking great care of it, and then put it back in the truck. So it's still in the truck now. Actually, it overwintered and popped up again. So you can see it tonight outside of the museum. And which reminds me, I also have some DVDs. If anybody wants to grab me outside by the truck, I have some DVDs for sale for $9.99. Yeah.
Anyone else have any other questions? Okay. Well, it was great having you here, and hopefully the films you're working on now are completed, will make its way back to our festival, and hopefully we can keep this festival going and keep spreading the joys of ruralness.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. It's a pleasure to have you three here, very special guests. And we want to invite everybody over to Cafe Bar after a little truck farm visit for a little unofficial casual after party. With your program, they have $1 off drink specials, so come meals over there, have a beer or two, and have a good night.